Have you ever wondered why so many people across centuries and cultures turn to ancient Buddhist scriptures for guidance, peace, and clarity? What makes these texts so special that they have survived thousands of years, through wars, migrations, and massive social changes, yet still inspire millions today? Welcome to this journey into the heart of Buddhism, where we explore a question that may sound simple but holds profound depths. Should we read Buddhist scriptures daily? At first glance, it might seem obvious. If these texts contain the wisdom of the Buddha himself, wouldn't daily reading naturally deepen our understanding and bring us closer to awakening? But the truth is more nuanced. The scriptures aren't just books. They are living teachings, a timeless conversation between the Buddha and all who seek freedom from suffering. Let me share a story. Once, a young monk named Ananda approached the Buddha and asked, "Master, how can we best keep the Dharma alive?" The Buddha smiled and said, "By not only hearing the words but by living them daily." This subtle teaching reveals a key insight. Buddhist scriptures aren't just to be read or memorized. They are meant to be lived, practiced, and embodied. But why daily? Why not once in a while or only when we feel like it? Imagine your mind as a garden. If you water it every day with fresh understanding, kindness, and awareness, the seeds of wisdom will grow strong and vibrant. Skip days and weeds of distraction, doubt, or despair might quickly take over. Daily reading of scriptures acts like that nourishing water. It gently reshapes our thinking, deepens our mindfulness, and gradually transforms who we are. Yet many of us struggle with this practice. Life is busy, distractions are endless, and the language of ancient texts can sometimes feel distant or difficult to grasp. This is exactly why understanding why Buddhist scriptures matter, beyond mere words, is essential before committing to daily reading. In this series, we'll explore together the rich history of these sacred texts, their timeless wisdom, and how they can become a guiding light in your everyday life. We'll uncover practical ways to approach the scriptures, avoiding common pitfalls, and adapting ancient teachings for the modern world, all while keeping the essence of Buddhism alive and vibrant. By the end of this journey, you'll see that reading Buddhist scriptures daily isn't just a habit. It's a profound practice that can awaken compassion, clarity, and peace, one page, one moment at a time. So, are you ready to truly appreciate why reading Buddhist scriptures daily can be transformative? We need to understand their remarkable journey, a story that stretches back over 2,500 years, across continents, languages, and cultures. Imagine a time long before printing presses or digital screens, when the Buddha's teachings were first shared, not as written pages, but as spoken words, carried by devoted disciples who memorized and recited them with unwavering care. This was an age when oral tradition was king. In the decades following the Buddha's enlightenment, monks traveled from village to village, retelling his sermons word for word. Their memories became living libraries. The precision of this oral transmission was so meticulous that even slight errors were corrected through communal recitation. This dedication preserved the teachings in their purest form for centuries. Eventually, these teachings were written down, creating the Buddhist scriptures we know today. But here's where things get fascinating. Different Buddhist communities developed their own collections of texts, shaped by language, geography, and philosophy. For example, the Theravada tradition, dominant in countries like Sri Lanka, Thailand, and Myanmar, preserved the Pali Canon, also called the Tipitaka, which means 3 baskets. This vast body of scripture includes the Buddha's discourses, monastic rules, and detailed philosophical analyses. On the other hand, the Mahayana tradition, flourishing in China, Japan, Tibet, and beyond, embraced a broader range of sutras. These texts often focus on the bodhisattva ideal, the path of compassion and universal awakening, and introduce profound concepts like emptiness and Buddha nature. But regardless of the school or language, all Buddhist scriptures share a common purpose: to guide beings away from suffering and toward liberation. Let me tell you about a pivotal moment in this historical journey. In the 1st century BCE, the monks in Sri Lanka undertook a monumental task. They decided to write down the entire Pali Canon for the first time, a collection that until then had only existed in the memories of thousands of monks. Imagine the patience and devotion required to preserve every word accurately in ancient manuscripts. This act of preservation wasn't just about keeping texts safe. It was about safeguarding the living spirit of the Dharma, ensuring that future generations could access the Buddha's wisdom, unaltered by time or distance. But Buddhist scriptures are not just historical artifacts. They are dynamic teachings that have inspired countless commentaries, interpretations, and new practices throughout the centuries. Each culture that embraced Buddhism added its own layer of understanding, enriching the tapestry of Buddhist thought. This rich history reminds us that Buddhist scriptures are not static relics. They are part of a living tradition, a dialogue across generations that invites us to listen deeply and engage with the teachings in our own lives. As we consider reading these texts daily, it's important to remember this journey. The scriptures you open today connect you to an unbroken chain of seekers, teachers, and practitioners, stretching back to the very moment the Buddha spoke his first words of awakening. And with that profound connection in mind, we turn now to a question that lies at the heart of our exploration. What exactly are the benefits of reading Buddhist scriptures daily? How does this practice help us grow, heal, and transform in the midst of life's chaos? Imagine waking up each morning, and before the rush of the day sweeps you away, opening an ancient text filled with wisdom that has guided millions through the storms of life. This simple daily act, reading Buddhist scriptures, may seem modest, but its impact can be profound. Why? Because daily reading is more than just absorbing words on a page. It's a practice that nurtures the mind, heart, and spirit, planting seeds of mindfulness, compassion, and insight that grow over time. Let's explore some of the deep benefits that come from making scripture reading a daily habit. First, daily reading acts as a steady anchor amid life's chaos. Our minds often resemble turbulent seas, filled with worries about the future, regrets from the past, and endless distractions pulling us every which way. Reading the Buddha's teachings each day helps calm this storm by grounding us in timeless truths. It reminds us what truly matters, the path to freedom from suffering. Second, it cultivates mindfulness and ethical awareness. The scriptures invite us to pause and reflect on our thoughts, words, and actions. As we read about the Buddha's teachings on kindness, patience, and compassion, we begin to recognize moments in our day where these qualities can take root. This mindful reflection gradually transforms our behavior, leading to more peaceful relationships and greater inner harmony. Third, daily reading deepens our wisdom over time. Buddhist scriptures are rich with layers of meaning, metaphors, parables, and subtle insights that unfold only with patient study. When we engage with these texts regularly, our understanding grows, revealing new perspectives and guiding us closer to awakening. There's a story that beautifully illustrates this. A laywoman named Sujata once found herself overwhelmed by suffering and confusion. One day, she picked up a simple verse from the Dhammapada, the Buddha's collection of sayings, and read it slowly. Though the verse seemed straightforward, she returned to it day after day, each time discovering fresh meaning that eased her heart and sparked courage. This gradual unfolding of insight is the magic of daily scripture reading. Another benefit is that it inspires ethical living and compassion. The Buddha's words remind us that liberation isn't just personal, it's deeply connected to how we treat others. By encountering stories of generosity, patience, and loving kindness daily, our hearts open wider. We begin to live with greater care and empathy, embodying the Dharma beyond the pages. And finally, daily reading builds a resilient spiritual foundation. Life will inevitably bring challenges, loss, uncertainty, stress. When these storms hit, Having a well-nourished mind filled with the Buddha's teachings can be a refuge. The scriptures become a source of strength, helping us face adversity with calm and clarity. But here's the key. The benefit of reading scriptures daily isn't just in the reading itself, but in what it stirs within us. It awakens a desire to practice, to live mindfully, and to walk the path of awakening with renewed dedication. Now, before we rush to open the next page, reading Buddhist scriptures daily sounds like an ideal practice, one that brings wisdom, peace, and clarity. Yet, as with any profound journey, there are challenges and pitfalls that can quietly undermine our progress if we're not careful. Understanding these common obstacles helps us avoid them and maintain a meaningful connection with the teachings. One of the biggest challenges is reading without understanding. Buddhist scriptures, written centuries ago in ancient languages, are often dense, symbolic, and layered with meaning. Simply scanning the text without grasping the essence can leave us confused, or worse, frustrated. Imagine trying to learn a new language by just looking at the words without any guidance. Over time, you might lose interest or misinterpret what you're reading. The same happens with scripture when it's approached mechanically or superficially. Another pitfall is rigidity and literalism. Sometimes, readers cling too tightly to the exact wording, missing the spirit behind the teachings. They may expect immediate results or think there's only one correct way to understand the texts. This can lead to disappointment or even dogmatism. Buddhism invites us to question, reflect, and apply teachings skillfully according to our situation. When reading becomes rigid, it blocks the natural flow of insight and compassion. There's also the risk of using scriptures to avoid real practice. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that simply reading or memorizing scriptures is itself the practice. But the Buddha's teachings emphasize that wisdom arises from experience and application, not just words. Some may find comfort in accumulating knowledge while neglecting meditation, ethical conduct, or compassion in daily life. This imbalance limits the transformative power of the Dharma. Let me share a story. A young practitioner eagerly read volumes of sutras but struggled with anger and impatience in everyday life. Despite her extensive knowledge, she found little peace. Only when she began to combine reading with meditation and mindful living did she truly feel the teachings come alive. This highlights an essential truth. Scriptures are guides, not ends in themselves. Another subtle pitfall is getting lost in complexity or despair. The depth of Buddhist philosophy can sometimes feel overwhelming. Concepts like emptiness, impermanence, or non-self challenge deeply held beliefs. Without proper guidance, readers may feel confused or discouraged, questioning their ability to understand or practice. Here, community, teachers, and practical advice play vital roles in supporting the journey. Lastly, there's the danger of using scriptures to separate or judge others. The Dharma teaches compassion and unity, but misinterpretation can lead to spiritual pride or division. Remembering the humble origins of these teachings, offered to help all beings, is crucial. So, how do we navigate these challenges? We've journeyed through the history and significance of Buddhist scriptures, explored their profound benefits, and uncovered the common pitfalls that can challenge our practice. Now, let's turn to a vital question. How can we read these ancient texts effectively, so that their wisdom truly lights up our minds and hearts? Reading Buddhist scriptures isn't like reading a novel or a textbook. These texts are living teachings, meant to be engaged with deeply and skillfully. Here are 5 practical approaches to help you make the most of your daily reading. 1. Approach with an open and curious mind. Before opening the scripture, take a moment to set an intention. Approach the text with openness, curiosity, and humility. Remember, these teachings are invitations, not commands. Ask yourself, what can I learn today? How can this teaching apply to my life? This mindset prepares your heart and mind to receive insight rather than just information. 2. Read slowly and reflectively. Don't rush through the pages. Buddhist scriptures often use poetic language, parables, and symbolic stories that reveal deeper meanings when savored slowly. Pause after each passage to reflect. What images or feelings arise? How might this teaching relate to your experiences? This slows down the mind and deepens understanding. 3. Use a reliable translation and study resources. Choosing a trustworthy translation is crucial. Some texts can be challenging due to cultural and linguistic differences. Look for editions with clear explanations, footnotes, or commentaries by respected teachers. If possible, complement your reading with teachings from knowledgeable guides, whether in books, talks, or meditation groups. They provide context and practical advice, helping avoid misinterpretations. 4. Apply what you read. Wisdom isn't just in knowing, it's in living. After reading, think about one small way you can apply the teaching during your day. For example, if the scripture emphasizes patience, practice patience in a difficult interaction. If it highlights generosity, find a moment to give, whether your time, attention, or kindness. This integration bridges the gap between theory and practice, turning reading into real transformation. 5. Maintain consistency and flexibility. Daily reading is powerful, but it shouldn't feel like a chore. Build a routine that fits your life, whether it's morning, evening, or a quiet moment during the day. At the same time, be flexible. Some days you may read deeply, other days, just a few lines might be enough. The key is to keep the connection alive, allowing the Dharma to gently shape your journey. Let me share a story to illustrate. A monk named Mahinda lived centuries ago and was tasked with spreading the Buddha's teachings in Sri Lanka. He carried a copy of the scriptures with him, but instead of reading them like a scholar, he lived each teaching with mindfulness and compassion. When asked how he remembered so much, he said, "I don't memorize words, I embody the Dharma." This embodied approach remains a timeless model for all of us. Remember, reading Buddhist scriptures effectively is not about speed or quantity. It's about deep engagement. As we've seen, Buddhist scriptures carry timeless wisdom, yet we live in an era vastly different from when these teachings were first recorded. The world today moves faster, technology shapes how we learn, and distractions abound. So, how does Buddhist scripture reading adapt to this modern landscape? The answer lies in embracing both tradition and innovation, honoring the depth of the Dharma while using new tools to access and integrate it in daily life. One of the most transformative changes is the digital revolution. Today, countless Buddhist texts are available online, free, easily searchable, and accessible from anywhere. Mobile apps, podcasts, and video teachings allow us to engage with the Dharma anytime, whether commuting, taking a break, or winding down. This digital access breaks down barriers of geography, language, and time, bringing ancient wisdom to the palms of millions worldwide. However, with great access comes great responsibility. The internet is also a space of distraction, misinformation, and superficial content. It's easy to skim texts, chase viral quotes, or get lost in endless commentary without deep reflection. Therefore, mindful digital consumption is crucial. Choose reliable sources, established monasteries, respected teachers, or verified platforms. Use technology as a tool for connection, learning, and practice, not as a substitute for direct experience. Another modern adaptation is creative reinterpretation. Artists, writers, and filmmakers today translate Buddhist themes into new forms, graphic novels, animated videos, or even music that speak to contemporary audiences. These adaptations keep the teachings alive and relevant, inviting fresh engagement without losing their essence. At the same time, many practitioners blend Buddhist reading with modern mindfulness practices, meditation apps, guided sessions, or virtual sanghas, communities. This hybrid approach can enrich understanding, build community, and maintain motivation in busy, urban lives. But it's important to remember that technology is a means, not the goal. The core remains the same: the lived experience of Dharma through reflection, ethical living, and compassion. Ultimately, whether you read on an ancient scroll, a printed book, or a glowing screen, the heart of the practice is the same. The Buddha's teachings call us to awaken, to see clearly, live kindly, and cultivate peace. As we embrace the tools of the modern world, let us do so with wisdom, balance, and reverence. As we come to the close of our journey through the question, should we read Buddhist scriptures daily? It's clear that the answer is beautifully nuanced. Buddhist scriptures are like a vast ocean of wisdom, offering guidance, inspiration, and insight. Yet, like any ocean, they can overwhelm if we dive in without preparation. The true art lies in finding a balance between study and practice. Reading the scriptures nurtures the mind, planting seeds of understanding. But it is the daily practice, meditation, ethical living, compassion, that waters those seeds, allowing them to blossom into genuine transformation. Without practice, reading risks becoming mere intellectual exercise. Without study, practice may lose direction and depth. So, how do we walk this middle path? Approach scripture reading as a companion to your lived experience, not a separate endeavor. Let the teachings illuminate your meditation, guide your actions, and soften your heart. At times, you may read deeply, exploring complex ideas. Other times, a simple verse may offer exactly what you need. Honor that rhythm. Remember the Buddha's words. Do not believe in anything simply because you have heard it. Do not believe in anything simply because it is spoken and rumored by many. Do not believe in anything simply because it is found written in your religious books. Do not believe in anything merely on the authority of your teachers and elders. But after observation and analysis, when you find that anything agrees with reason and is conducive to the good and benefit of one and all, then accept it and live up to it. This spirit of inquiry and personal experience is at the heart of Buddhist study and practice. If you cultivate daily reading with this open mind and heartfelt intention, the scriptures will not just inform you, they will transform you. Before we end, I invite you to reflect. What role will Buddhist scriptures play in your life? How can daily reading support your path of awakening? If this series has inspired or helped you, please consider liking, sharing, and